Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again it is Sunday, and that means it's time for the Texas Gun Vault poll question of the week, a weekly vlog where I ask you as my viewers and subscribers about something that deals with guns, gun culture, current events, or even the news that I want to get your thoughts and opinions on. And this week's question definitely deals with current events and the news and your predictions for civil unrest, or if things are just going to go on as normal here in the United States. So with that said, let's dive right into this week's poll question. In the past week, we have seen extreme anti-gun laws, magazine capacity limits passed into law in Washington state, and very pro-gun laws, constitutional carry, passed in Ohio. The divide between the pro and anti-gun states is growing, but in the greater perspective, the Second Amendment is just one of many issues fracturing the cohesiveness and foundation of the United States. Do you worry that with so many cultural issues dividing our nation and so many states taking such vastly different approaches to so many constitutional rights that it will eventually lead to a Civil War 2.0? And if so, what will that conflict or war look like? So I give the example of the anti-gun bills passed in Washington state and the pro-gun bills passed in Ohio. Now, I know this is kind of the way things have been going for a while. We have states like Washington, California, New York, New Jersey, and so forth, constantly ramming through gun control, more and more gun control. Everything gun controllers want, they get, and it's never enough. Then we have states like Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and in this case, Ohio, and probably even Florida, getting pro-gun legislation passed, essentially allowing their citizens to exercise their right to keep and bear arms without infringement. And even here in Texas, we have laws that go into effect, for example, if the NFA is ever repealed. You guys know we have the Made in Texas suppressor law. So essentially, we have states that are passing law in blatant disregard to federal law. So this divide between the pro and the anti-gun states is getting bigger all the time. The one thing that I think has always made our country so great is the fact that we have 50 different experiments going on in democracy or republicanism. And essentially we have different states that are going to take a different approach to different issues. But the one thing that has always kept the country together is, for the most part, while we might disagree on smaller issues, the bigger issues were always cohesive. We always agreed across the board. So, for example, driving under the influence of alcohol. We all agree it is a bad thing. Now, granted, in different states, they may have different proceedings if you are arrested for that crime. Same thing can go for burglary or arson. The sentences might be different, but we all agree that those things are bad and should be prosecuted a certain way. But then we have these fundamental issues like the Second Amendment. We have states where you can have short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, suppressors, and even own transferable machine guns. You can go to the gun store, go through the background check, and take the gun home that day. But then you have states like New Jersey, New York, and California where you have to have essentially a permission slip. Most guns are banned. If they have a certain feature, you're going away for a very, very long time. So how in the world can we have states that are supposed to be coming together have such vastly different approaches to fundamental rights? And of course, because we have free exercise of travel and the right to travel between the states, well, this could become an issue. So for example, you're raised and born in Texas. You're familiar with gun laws. You don't follow the intricacies of gun laws and gun politics. You're like, well, I got my concealed handgun permit. I just got an old revolver in my car. Well, I'm going to go up and see my family in New York. And you get pulled over in New York and you do your thing and go, officer, I'm supposed to let you know I do have a revolver in this car. It's in my glove compartment. And then you get arrested. And then your whole life is turned upside down and you are charged thousands of dollars in legal fees, thousands of dollars in fines, and you probably do time in jail. And now you have a felony on your record for doing something that is completely legal in most of the rest of the country. So how is this fair? And is this divide not only on the Second Amendment, but on so many other issues? Because as you know, anything that goes on in our world today has to be politicized. It just does. Whether we're talking about COVID or Ukraine, and of course those are the big things, down to the Second Amendment, or even something as silly as driving laws. We have so many different laws across the nation. Another good example would be the recreational use of marijuana. You can go to Colorado and get pot, essentially. You know, you can go to some dispensary, just walk in, get it, you can smoke it, eat it, whatever you do, and then you can go to another state and get arrested. Now, granted, most other states look at the simple possession of marijuana as a Class C misdemeanor, essentially the same thing as a speeding ticket. So there's not that great divide. Yeah, you can't bring it into Texas, you can't smoke it in Texas, but if you get caught, we go, it's a slap on the wrist, don't do it again, and of course they're going to go do it again. But essentially we still kind of agree that enforcing those laws is stupid and that the free exercise of people to smoke a plant that's available everywhere shouldn't really be regulated. So we all kind of agree on that. But then you have that Second Amendment issue where you go to one state and your life can be turned upside down. You are treated like a mass murderer. You are a terrorist. In fact, if you are caught violating some of these gun laws in states like California or New York, you are put in the most secure, maximum security facilities because you are public enemy number one, while actually people that do real crime like drug trafficking, human trafficking, and murder get out with a slap on the wrist. But you've never done anything in your life. And so this is, I think, symptomatic of the bigger problems here in the country. The divide between the right and the left, the pro-gun, the anti-gun, or whatever side of the political aisle or spectrum that you find yourselves on is just getting so big. It is like we have two parallel economies, two parallel nations existing under one banner. And how long can that really go on? And what's going to be the final consequences and inevitability of this trajectory? And so that's the question I was asking you. But let's see what you guys have to say with this week's results. With over 1,200 people voting as of me filming this video, we have the nation is heading to a hot and kinetic civil war, 25%. The U.S. will break up in a peaceful divorce without conflict, 4%. Nothing will happen in U.S. politics, will just carry on, 63%. The U.S. will eventually unite and be stronger than ever, 5%. And something else, explain in the comments, 3%. You know, one thing I really should have added to this poll that I didn't was kind of a time frame. When I'm looking at these results, I kind of agree with the results. I don't think anything is going to happen in the short term. In my lifetime, probably not. But 100 years from now, it might really fall off the rail. So maybe I didn't ask the best question. I should have put some type of time frame on this. But let's go through each one of these and let's see what I have to say about each option. We have the nation is headed to a hot and kinetic energy civil war, 25%. I know this is the big fear. I also think that there's some people out there that almost in a way wish this. Well, of course, we all want the best for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, and our progeny, the people that are going to come after us. I always say that one of the things that I want to do here in my channel is promote the Second Amendment in a positive way and bring people into the Second Amendment community to make it stronger. So people 50, 60 years from now, people that aren't even born, can exercise their rights to keep and bear arms and defend themselves against enemies both foreign and domestic, the true purpose of the Second Amendment. And I am just one little brick in this larger pathway. That's the way that I look at it. And I hope that other people feel that way about the prosperity and the unity of our nation. However, some people are seeing the inevitability. They're going, well, this cannot continue on this certain trajectory. And they've kind of run all the numbers in their head. And they're like, well, what's possible? What can solve this conflict? And I think that some people are just getting fed up. When you have a nation that is so big, what are we now, 330 million people? You're going to have a wide variety of people that are going to approach these issues and try to find resolution to these issues many different ways. And of course, 25% people saying they think it's going to turn into a hot conflict. I'm not saying they want it to, but I think some people kind of wish it would be that way, because essentially it's like ripping the Band-Aid off of a wound. Sometimes you just got to do it and go, well, we have to reset this thing, and we have begged our representatives. We have done everything we possibly can, and we're not going to get a resolution to this, so it's time to go to the bullet box. As they say, it all goes through the series of boxes. You have the soap box, the ballot box, and then you have the bullet box. And some people are thinking we're already on that last step, that we've told people, we've warned people, don't tread on us, don't do this certain thing, don't pass these laws, leave me alone. Then we go out and vote, and the legislators still do it, and then eventually maybe the bullet box is the last option. And some people are getting really fed up and really tired, and they're looking at this and going, this is our only and last resort. Then we have the U.S. will break up in a peaceful divorce without conflict. To be very honest with you, this is the way that I wish things would go. Now, I know a lot of people would say, if we break up, we won't be the powerful, big policeman on the block anymore on the world stage. And yes, that is true. But you got to take a look at the certain states. We have states like California and Texas, which their individual GDPs are bigger than most nations of the world. So if we divided, no, we would not be as powerful as we are, but we would have two nations that would be economically very strong. We would also have a shared history. We could probably have free trade among those two nations and factions. We could probably come to each other's defense. But we finally admit, hey, you live in California in Oregon, and you guys want to try out socialism and communism, you guys want to tax your businesses into oblivion, that's perfectly fine. You guys do you. You voted for it. I am all about that. But here in Texas, nope, we are going to be capitalist. We're going to do things a certain way. We're getting rid of all these stupid regulations and laws that we don't think do anything. But you are more than welcome to shackle your citizens as much as possible. If you vote for it, you want universal this, universal that, basic income, health care, you figure it out. Show us the way. Show us it actually works. I don't think it is, but more power to you. I don't dislike you. I don't hate you because you feel differently than me. That's perfectly fine. You guys vote for it. Go do it. Show me. But leave me alone. And I was kind of hoping this one was going to get more votes because I don't want anybody to perish. I don't want anybody to suffer or die. I really wish that a bunch of states could get together and go, listen, we're going to make this proposal. We're going to become our own nation. We're going to become independent from the nation at large. California might go, you know what? We're tired of Texas voting a certain way and screwing up our policies too. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to have free trade. We'll get along. We'll be allies on the world stage. We'll work together. But no longer will we be politically tied together. We might be culturally tied together. I would really want to see this. And I kind of hope that this is what happens if inevitability plays out and we have to break the United States up, because I don't want anybody to die. Why can't we solve this peacefully? Why can't we all just get along? Why can't we all just sit down at the table and go, okay, we don't want to fire a single shot. Let's just peacefully go in two different directions. We can do what we want to do. You can do what you want to do. And we all get along and nobody has to die. Then we have nothing will happen and U.S. politics will just carry on. Granted, I kind of knew this one was going to win, and I kind of agree in the short term that is what this is. I always find it funny when people say that we're at a crossroads. It is the worst it has ever been. And I go, well, you know, we don't have any true perspective of what the original Civil War was like. We don't have any perspective of what the Revolutionary War was like because nobody was around then that is alive today. We don't have that perspective. All those events are just items in a history book. They're just numbers, they're facts, they're dates, they're concepts. But for us, we feel like it's the worst it's ever been. It's just like when it came to all the coronavirus stuff, COVID thing. It's the worst pandemic the world has ever seen. But of course, we have no perspective of the Spanish flu or the bubonic plague that killed 1/3 of everybody that was alive, because that's just an item in a history book. Oh my gosh, a bunch of people got sick. But we want to become the victims. We want to become the stars. 300 years from now, they may look back on our time and laugh and go, they have no idea what they're talking about. Because no, it's the worst pandemic we've ever had. 300 years from now, and it's probably like the same thing, right? So in the future, we are just going to be facts and dates in a history book. So I understand why people that are level-headed said, we're just going to keep going along. It's not the end of the world. Nobody's starving. The government isn't rounding up people right now and putting them into camps. Is that a possibility? Well, of course it's a possibility, but it's probably not going to happen. Not in our lifetime, but of course we want to be vigilant, and that is what the Second Amendment is about. Then we have the U.S. will eventually unite and be stronger than ever, 5%, a minority of people, and these are the optimists. And I'm glad that they're there. I would really hope that this would be the case, and of course that we unite voluntarily and continue to support this exercise in freedom and liberty. I don't want us to go in the other direction, but I hope that we do get united. But that is the optimist's hope, the optimist's dream, and I'm glad that there's people that watch this channel that do believe that. And then we have something else. Explain in the comments below. And it kind of seemed like a lot of people that voted for this, or people that I thought would have voted for this, were kind of a mix of the two. They would say in the short term, this is going to happen. In the long term, this is going to happen. So with that said, let's dive right into this week's top rated comments and see what you guys had to say. With our top-rated comment of the week, we have Silencium Mortem, who says, I don't know what I think will happen or where it will go. Political polarization and the cultural divide are no doubt increasing and will only exceed the current pace. However, I do not think we are near critical mass or have a far, far way to go. With that being said, it is clear to see that the conservatives are beginning to actually do something, politically and legally, which they should have been doing for years now. They are beginning to become competitive in states and races where they had no shot years ago. This is particularly motivating when you see actual conservatives and economic and civic-minded populist nationalist candidates not only going for the liberal seats but also dethroning rhino scumbag incumbents so as to not only gain seats from the left but actually make current Republican seats actually more conservative. Just my 2 cents, equally freaky but equally exciting times. God bless. And I do have to agree with his sentiment. I am seeing this happen. Now, you guys know as a pro-gun person, I'm a libertarian. I do not consider myself a conservative or a Republican. I am a libertarian in that I believe that you should have the right to do anything you want to do as long as you are not hurting or infringing upon the rights of others. Even though I have a certain set of ethics and I believe in a certain morality, I don't think that I should be able to legislatively enforce those upon you. But I will say for a long time, I have voted on the right side of the aisle, the conservatives, the Republicans, because they were the closest ones to how I personally believed. And it's great to see them actually fighting back, because for a long time it seemed like the Democrats and the liberals were playing one game. They were cheating. They would fight like hell for what they believed in. And the Republicans would just go along to get along. Well, we can't do it the same way. Well, as our former President Barack Obama said, if they bring a knife, you bring a gun, right? He was quoted as saying that when it came to the political fights that they were having in Chicago. Well, if the Democrats are going to cheat, we have done everything legally we can do to win through the traditional ways. Well, we got to start playing the game that they play. We have to do the ballot harvesting. We have to play all the gerrymandering games that they play. We have to play the legal warfare. We have to pass the bills to expand voting rights and be able to help people that are conservative and libertarian be able to vote. We have to do the exact same things that they're doing, just on our side. And so I do see that happening, and I think that's a good thing. Then we have DeVille Isaliar, who says, I hope everyone will band together and hold the oligarchs, the elite, and the politicians and legacy families accountable. It's been far too long since our last witch hunt. You know, and that's a sentiment that I think goes across both political spectrums. We are so tired of political dynasties. I mean, come on. How many Bushes have to run for the presidency? How many Clintons have to run for the presidency? At least right now we have people that are running that don't come from political dynasties, but it gets so tiring. I remember when the Kennedys were in Congress for what, 50 or 60 years? Can't we vote in somebody different? We're not supposed to have monarchs here in the United States, but people continue to vote for them. But I do feel that that is a sentiment across the board and across all political perspectives. Then we have Navy Sooner, who says, the funniest part is the people think we will just continue to call each other names and nothing will come of it. Yeah, and that is true. There's a lot of people that think nothing will come of it. Eventually, there might be that match that gets ignited. There'll be that shot heard around the world like happened in the Revolutionary War. I can't predict what that event is. It could be the government stepping on the rights of a certain state or certain people, or it could be the other way around. The shot heard around the world where everything in the whole house of cards begins to collapse. So, yeah, I think it's kind of short-sighted if you feel that is what is not going to happen. Then we have Justin Wells, who says peaceful divorce would be ideal. I don't know that there is common ground to be found anymore. And yeah, I agree. As I said, I don't want anybody to die, suffer, get hurt in any way, shape, or form. And I just kind of hope that maybe we can just go our separate ways and go, we're just not going to see eye to eye. We are just very, very different people in these different states and these different regions. And there is no reconciling, and we just need to go our separate ways, but we'll be there for each other because we have a shared history and a shared culture. Then lastly, we have Joe Morgan, who says, we are at a crossroads. We are in uncertain times, and we have no other course than prepare and plan ahead. Right, I definitely do think that we should be planning. We should be looking ahead, but we should also be rational in the moment. As I said, if we could settle things peacefully and have some type of peaceful divide or peaceful divorce and go our own ways, that would be ideal, because we don't want to see death or destruction or anybody suffer. We don't want to see the loss of lives or the divisions of families. I just want to see people go their separate ways and say, you do you, and we'll do we. And we'll just get along and we'll come together when we need it. And that would be ideal. So I know this was a very sensitive topic for some people. I know this is a very pertinent topic because of all the things that are going on in our life. So it was very serious this week. Sometimes I like to have fun around here, and sometimes I have to be serious. And this is a very serious week, so maybe I'll have a fun one for next week. But I appreciate all of the input, and I gotta say, this one gives me a little bit hope, because I don't think we're on the precipice of a Civil War 2.0. And I think a lot of you guys agree and definitely don't want that to happen. So that kind of warms my heart a little bit. I still have hope that we can get through this together and remain united. So there you go. That is the Texas Gun Vault poll question of the week. If you would like to participate in next week's poll, please go to the community tab of my YouTube channel. I will post a link in the description as well. Go over there, vote, comment, and like other people's comments so we can get the top rated comments of the week. I look forward to seeing your comments about this poll in the comment section below and having a great discussion there. So, as always, thanks for watching.